While specific names of segments may vary around the world, hotels typically use two major types of segmentation. There's a yielding segmentation that is geared towards pricing, and then there is the market segmentation that is more geared towards financial reporting. Over the past few years in hotels, you'd find that you have generally less yielding segments due to rate parity rules and other restrictions related to promotional segments, which there's no constraints to how you promote to customers. One of the things to keep in mind when discussing segmentation, especially from those who may come from other companies, is to really try to standardize terminologies across the board and to make sure that you are clear and upfront with what your terminology means. For example, in some places, fit may mean frequent individual traveler to some, or fully inclusive tour to others. Free independent traveler, for an independent traveler, among others also jump to mind. Employees who come from two totally different major brands and join a new company could have totally different perceptions on what these terminologies mean. So it is really important when discussing segmentation to standardize the terminology to make sure that everyone is on the same page. Like much of the hospitality industry, there are general benchmarks, but there aren't specific global standards for specific segment breakdowns. So it is important that each property spends ample time evaluating its business and finding a segmentation that keeps the hotel occupied at the highest rates the market allows. As I mentioned earlier, yielding segmentation is generally meant for pricing. How are you pricing different channels and managing restrictions? This will directly impact your bottom line and has a direct impact on performance. With a decrease in rate parity rules, meaning rate equality across all channels, hotels will have more of an opportunity to create more granular detail to enable better and more flexible pricing across the vast array of distribution channels. This can be beneficial for promotional purposes, and we'll get into promotions momentarily. Market segmentation, on the other hand, is more for budgeting and reporting. It enables you to see things from a higher level. A hotel may have OTA as a market level, but the finance department doesn't care about the difference between revenues from Hotwire and from Expedia. They just want to look at third-party distribution costs, so they'll lump those together as an OTA segment. Whereas, from a yielding perspective, you're going to price those two channels differently, as we saw with Jim and Joe, because these consumers' behaviors and buying patterns are very different, and you don't want to lose them based on over or underpricing. For yield segmentation, the OTA segment in the previous example with Jim and Joe would be split apart into merchant and opaque and priced completely differently. While reporting-wise, specifically for finance, third-party distribution would be lumped together into one segment. We have a customer who's a marquee independent property in a luxury resort destination in California. When we started working with them, they were initially confused by what was needed to make up more detailed segmentation. When they asked how to break things down into more granularity, our first response was to take the market segment OTA and divide it into merchant and opaque, which enables a hotel to look at bookings and average daily rates, or ADR, in significantly more detail. Additionally, taking the transient segment, which might be as a market segment, and breaking that down into retail, various discounts, friends and family rates, and other subsegments allows a hotel to truly analyze the ADRs and the bookings that come in through each channel. Of course, it's important to know that you must have sufficient market share or a significant mix of business within each of these yielding segments, or else it gets difficult to forecast. If you only have one customer prospectively coming in through one of these channels on a given day, it's either going to be 1 or 0, which is 100% accuracy, or 0. To create a segment, you need a reasonable demand within each mix, which really depends on the size of your property. Additionally, something to take into account is that OTAs are shifting around their pricing models. Based on these different types of pricing models, you could be incentivized to break apart the OTA segment into further means. For example, companies like Expedia traditionally charge customers directly. So a consumer could go to Expedia.com and make a booking, and then the consumer pays Expedia, which then monthly, Expedia will pay back the hotel based on their negotiated contract. At the same time, using Expedia's commission model, Other customers won't pay up front, but pay at the hotel, and at the end of the month, the hotel will then pay the appropriate amount back to Expedia based on the contract. Each of these distribution channels offers different margins that results from different costs of acquisitions associated with that same exact booking. Analyzing specifically how a customer comes in and those different resulting margins enables you to understand exactly how detailed you should segment. But the big question is, what about promotions? And where do sales and marketing fall? If revenue management and accounting did their own segmentation, what about sales and marketing? Where sales and marketing often need to have a more detailed view into the behaviors of a consumer, they can also often use more of a high-level reporting or high-level segmentation for a promoting strategy. So the short answer is, it depends. If a hotel has gaps in occupancy, the sales and revenue teams might want to create promotional strategies around their market. This way, they can reach a broader audience to fill their hotel. On the other hand, a hotel might want to create promotions around certain yielding segments to try to sell rooms during low demand periods. This way, the hotel can target a focus group of prospective customers to fill the hotel. On the next video, I will review strategic segmentation and go through an example of yielding and market segmentation at a hotel.